Yeah. Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake and the Doc coming back at you today, week 11, and we got a butt ton of injuries to talk about here. Once again, Ethan, I mean, the scroll bar on your notes continues to get longer and longer, but you know what? After we get through all the negativity, we got some show us your teams, and yes, for sure, we're going to be dipping in the mailbag once again here this week. But Ethan, I think for the next 30 minutes, I'm just going to sit here and watch the game. And just let you talk, because you got a lot of people that you want to mention here in week 11.
Hey, here's the thing, Jake. I don't make the rules. I just write the names down. And some weeks I just keep writing names and I keep going and I keep going and I keep going. But
here's
sadly,
I mean, you could probably talk about it's like 100 players every week. And I know that every single week we get comments like, hey, what about this guy? And what about this guy? That's cool. If there's somebody that you don't hear about that you really have a question, leave it down below in the comment section. We'll get to. We just can't talk about all 100 people. The show would be like 6 hours long. I don't want to record for 6 hours. I don't want to edit a 6-hour video, and then you probably won't watch all 6 hours. So let's keep it moving. Let's get through the necessities here, Ethan, because I want to have some fun and make fun of some people's teams.
that's right. We do have some moment of silences this week, Jake. I'm sorry. This came down the pipeline late last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. Robert Woods tore his ACL in practice on Friday. Bobby Trees. We're at this point in the year now where ACL tears can definitely start lingering into the beginning of next season.
That sucks.
I hope, just given that this was reported as a clean ACL tear, which means it was only the ACL, that Robert Woods can return before the start of next season. But it definitely increases his risk next year. But we'll get to that next year. Just know Robert Woods done for the year. OBJ, I guess, sliding right into that role. We don't have to think about who is going to get the targets that Robert Woods is leaving, because it's probably going to be OBJ, maybe a little Van Jefferson. Next up, we got a guy that's basically been hurt all year, but we got official news this last week. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's been dealing with a hip dislocation since way, way, way back at the beginning of the year. The team has basically come out and said that they don't expect him to return this season. So Fitzpatrick done for the year. He didn't really do a whole lot for our fantasy teams, but he is a fan favorite. So obviously we're bummed that he is no longer going to, produce any points.
Quick sidebar. Do you think his career is over?
I don't know. Teams are always looking for quarterback help and depth. So as long as he wants to play, there's a chance that he probably will get a job. I don't think that I think he's done in Washington for sure. The question is like, where is he going to land next? We know that one thing about Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that's that he never seems to go away. So as long as he wants to play, he's going to be a problem for some young quarterback who's underperforming. Zach Wilson, anybody?
I was going to say, that screams the Jets right there, Ethan. You just described the Jets.
And he's played for the Jets. So
reunion time.
Maybe. Speaking of reunions, this next one is not an official, technically, moment of silence, but we're going to put it on here.
We are, or you are?
I am.
Okay.
I teased it last week. Yes, Jake's like, I don't believe it. But here's the thing. Sam Darnold, there are rumors, some speculation, that the team will shut him down for the year now. For fantasy purposes, he's probably definitely done for the year, with the addition of Cam Newton, but just know that I am writing him off for the year. I don't know if his AC joint sprain, the shoulder sprain that he had in week 9, is actually season ending, but I think that it was enough of a season disruptor to basically have the team switch to Cam Newton. So sorry, Jake. I know that was like one of your boys, and that prediction was right until he started having injury issues. So
yeah, I mean, he started off super hot. I like Sam Darnold in the draft because I thought he'd just be somebody like a quarterback too, but then dude fell off a cliff, and he fell off quickly. And
in his defense, that fall off did coordinate with CMC's injury. So
true.
I don't think that it's 100% his fault when you're probably your best wide receiver and your best running back all go down at the same time. I don't know. I still think he's getting kind of an unfair shake. When they were both healthy, he was playing out of his mind. So, again, but he's probably done for the year. So,
probably done.
It is what it is.
All right. Moments of silence is there for a few guys, but what about a few guys that we already know are not playing this week?
Yeah, first up, a couple guys here from last night's game. Hayden Hurst, he got put on IR with an ankle sprain. He's done for about 3 weeks. Cordarrelle Patterson, he has an ankle sprain. He was ruled out late on Thursday before the game. That's a good sign that this is probably a grade 1 low ankle sprain, because there was at least a chance that he could play on a short week, which is pretty unlikely for a high ankle sprain. So I'm going to give him some rest, about 10 days. There's a good chance that he comes back next week after being ruled out last night. Last up here on guys that we know for sure are done for this week, Aaron Jones. He has an MCL sprain. Normally, for about a grade 1 sprain, you're looking for him to miss about 2 weeks, somewhere in that 2 to 4 week range. If the team puts him on IR, we'll know that this is a little bit more serious. I do think it's interesting, though, that Aaron Jones has had 4 MCL sprains in his NFL career. I just thought that was kind of an interesting tidbit. There is no real correlation with MCL sprains leading to more MCL sprains, but I guess it's just worth knowing that that's something that he's dealing with. I'm wondering if I'm going to start putting him in this expect him to miss some games category of running backs. We have a few running backs every year that we just know are going to miss games. I feel like Aaron Jones is going to be in that category next year for me. It's just worth remembering when we're drafting that maybe we need to slide him a few spots down, just because we can kind of bake in a few games missed due to these kind of ticky-tack things.
Dude's got weak MCLs.
Weak MCLs. You hate to see it.
He got to tighten those up a little bit. He got to improve the MCL game.
That's right.
All right, so now we head into the meat and taters here of Week 11. A lot of names to go through that you're probably debating in your current lineups right now. You're kind of waiting to find out. Let's go ahead and kick it off here, Ethan, with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, first up, your boy, Kyler Murray. He was dealing with this eversion ankle sprain. Again, that's not the normal ankle sprain. Normal ankle sprain is turning in. His actually turned out in week 8. He's been kind of working in practice this week. He's moving around a lot better than he was last week. So while I do think he's still a game time decision, he's at least trending towards possibly playing. It looks better than it did last week when there was almost no chance that he played. The only thing that's worth knowing is that the team does have a bye next week. So there is a chance that they could just opt to shut him down, let him fully recover, and then come back after the bye fully healthy. Next up, we got Zach Wilson. He has been limited with this PCL sprain from a few weeks back. The team's already planning on starting Joe Flacco. Your fantasy team should not be starting Joe Flacco, but just know that Zach Wilson is still recovering. Doesn't look like it's this week, but probably next week for Wilson. Jared Goff is dealing with an oblique strain. That's basically the core muscle.
I got a lot of those.
Yeah, okay. He didn't practice yet this week, Wednesday or Thursday. Tim Boyle's taking first team reps. Ooh. So they're, yeah, that's what I said.
You had to Google that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like, boy, I thought he was a tight end.
Yeah. It's Nick Boyle.
That's Nick Boyle. Anyway, the Boyle guy, he's starting. We shouldn't start him in fantasy either. Good chance that Goff misses this week. I mean, do the Lions really have any incentive anymore to actually try to win games?
No.
They could shut him down for the year, to be honest. This could have been a moment of silence. And maybe last up, we got for quarterbacks, we got Aaron Rodgers. So he's dealing with a toe injury. Could be turf toe, but we don't really know. It's not. They're not expecting him to really practice at all this week, but the reports are that they expect him to play through this. So again, does it limit his mobility? A little bit, but I still think that Aaron Rodgers is kind of a must start as long as he's playing.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to be inside the top 12 on a weekly basis as long as he's active. All right, what about ball catchers, wide receivers?
Yeah, first up here, we got Allen Robinson. He's been dealing with a hamstring strain, hasn't practiced at all this week. I actually don't expect him to play. It sucks because I think Allen Robinson pretty universally accepted as one of the biggest disappointments this year in fantasy. But it doesn't look like he's ready to play this. And it's just one of those things where the year has just not gone the way we expected it with him. And now he's dealing with this hamstring injury that could linger for weeks and weeks. So again, doesn't look like he's going to play. He might play, but can you really trust him in your fantasy lineups? I say no.
No.
We got Marquise Brown coming up next. He's dealing with a thigh contusion. He has not practiced yet this week. So if for some reason he can't get any practice in before Sunday, there's a good chance that he misses a game. You know, Marquise Brown isn't exactly what we would call the healthiest guy in the world. He's not somebody that like grunts through injuries. And so there's a chance that he misses this game. If he does, Rashad Bateman.
More Bateman.
This
is the week of Master Bateman.
That's right. He's definitely kind of positioning himself to take over this wide receiver room if Marquise Brown misses. And I honestly think Rashad Bateman could do that even if Marquise Brown plays.
Probably.
Next up, we got Terry McLaurin. He's dealing with a shoulder sprain. He missed a few plays last week, and he has been limited in practice, but this doesn't look like something that's very serious. I expect him to play. It's just worth knowing that he's dealing with it. Again, not something I'm super worried about. Next up, we got Chase Claypool. He's dealing with turf toe. Again, I talked about this last week, but grade 1 injuries, you're looking at about a 1 to 2 week absence. He has been practicing in a limited capacity, so there's a good chance that he was dealing with a grade 1 injury. He could play. I would say he's trending towards playing. He's a pretty risky start for me for fantasy, though. I'm probably not trying to force him into my lineups unless I absolutely have to. Next up, we got Antonio Brown. He is dealing with heel, foot, ankle, legal problems, a little bit of everything for Antonio Brown.
Smorgasbord.
We'll only talk about the injuries here, though. He isn't practicing. Doesn't sound like he's going to return anytime soon. We'll see what happens with the legal stuff. But as far as his foot / heel / ankle, there's been lots of reports on what actually is going on. We don't really know for sure. All we know is that he's not practicing. He's probably not going to play.
Right.
Next up, we got another one of your boys, DeAndre Hopkins. He has been dealing with a hamstring strain for a while now. He has not practiced yet this week either. And so he has now, I found this, he has now missed as many games this season as he did in his first 8 seasons combined. Dude was an absolute warrior, but this hamstring strain is getting the best of him. Again, this team's coming up on a bye. I think that they're going to give DeAndre Hopkins for sure this week off. Let him get the bye week and then hoping for him to return after that.
I kind of think it's because they're contenders this year. And they know that they're actually they're playing for something and they don't want to just force him back too early. Same thing with Kyler Murray. They're going to kind of, take what they got to do here in midseason, continue to stay relevant. And then hopefully everybody's healthy. End of the season, they can make a run.
Yeah. With a longer season, I know it's just one more week, but I can't emphasize enough. Like, it is a longer season. And so teams are being a lot more, I would say, business approach towards these like players playing and not playing. It used to be, well, we're paying them, so we need to get them in as quickly as possible. We're not seeing that as much this year. And I think it's because the season's longer. There's a lot of teams that know that like there's no real favorite in the NFL right now. So I do think teams like the Cardinals are being very particular about their stars. They want all these guys healthy for the end of the year. They don't care so much about these games that are like right in the middle.
And technically, worst case scenario, at the end of this week, they could be tied for first still in the division. So they're not falling behind too far.
Yeah. And that's a huge, it's a business decision.
That's right.
Next up, we got Cole Beasley. He's dealing with rib contusion. He's been having, rib issues for basically this entire season. He's missed a lot of practices this week and just in general this season. But he always finds a way to play. He's a pretty tough dude. Fantasy value definitely took a hit last week with Dawson Knox returning. I think he's pretty much a boom bust, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 for me, more in PPR than standard. He just doesn't score a ton of touchdowns. So I'm probably trying to sit him where I can, but just know that he is dealing with this rib contusion. So he is not 100% healthy. That's probably contributing to him not being as active in the passing game. Last up here, we got Donovan Peoples-Jones, somebody that a lot of people had kind of, earmarked as the guy to take over for OBJ in the Browns offense. He's been dealing with a groin strain pretty much since that trade happened, actually a little bit before. He hasn't practiced yet this week. Groin strains are one of those things that just, they linger for week after week after week. They're kind of like hamstring strains. And I just don't expect Donovan Peoples-Jones to be ready to play this week. So don't be anticipating him playing. If he does, super high risk.
Yeah, it's a delicate region. You got to take care of it.
That's right.
All right, now we're moving on from wide receivers to now we're going to running backs. And this is where a lot of people have a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, pretty much everybody that's got a running back at this point is concerned.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Saquon Barkley first. Barkley has been out for a large amount of time. He got the bye week. I kind of predicted that this week was going to be the make or break week. He should return this week. Again, we don't have a confirmed yes, he's going to play. He is practicing in limited capacity. It does seem like he's on track to play. If not this week, then definitely by next week, assuming there's no setbacks. Again, if he plays, you kind of have to play him. It's Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
I don't expect him to get 100% of the workload, but we've seen it already with CMC. When elite guys come back, their pass catching role is going to give them enough of a boost that even if they don't have an amazing first week, they can still crack the top 12 for running back. So Saquon Barkley on pace should return within the next 2 weeks. Again, I'm still aggressively trying to trade for him because, there's still a lot of murkiness about this. We don't have a for sure answer yet. And as long as we don't have a for sure answer, the trade window is open.
Right.
Let's talk about another stud. A lot of people are concerned about this one, DeAndre Swift. And let's just talk about Jamaal Williams while we're here. So Swift, huge role last week.
Dude, 36 touches.
36 touches. Unbelievable. 93% of the team's offensive snaps from last week. That is almost certainly a season high for sure, but maybe even his career high.
It is.
He picked up a shoulder sprain, though. And so I've talked about DeAndre Swift a lot. When he came out of school, he had a lot of these issues where he just kind of is banged up a little bit all the time. He's never like majorly hurt, but he's always kind of banged up. And so this is just what you get when you get DeAndre Swift. You're going to have some huge weeks. He is one of those top 12, top 5 even running backs when he's healthy, but just know he's going to be banged up a lot. So it's just kind of what you get when you get him. This shoulder sprain doesn't seem very serious. I am a little concerned just because Jamaal Williams is coming back from a thigh contusion that's kept him out a few games. And so that could pose some problems for Swift. I expect both of these guys to play. I still think Swift's going to get the majority of the carries, though.
Perfect.
Elijah Mitchell, he's coming off a finger fracture. He did have a minor procedure done. Shanahan expects him to play this week, but I don't think he's really going to practice. He's really a game time decision. Even though Shanahan says he's playing, I don't trust the shenanigans.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't. If he does play, I guess with a broken finger, I am a little concerned about just fumbling being an issue. What happens if it gets hit? Is he going to have the same type of grip strength that he had before? It's hard to say. I'd still probably start him if he is playing, just because I think that if he's playing, he's going to get plenty of opportunities. But again, Elijah Mitchell dealing with this finger fracture.
They're just going to tape it to the one next to it.
That's right. Yeah, no problem.
Tape it up.
It's easy.
Rub some dirt on it.
Exactly. James Robinson, he's been dealing with a heel bruise. He picked up a knee sprain this week as well. So now he's got kind of two different issues. He hasn't practiced much this week yet. The other thing that kind of just, I don't know, I guess concerns me is that he didn't start last week either, but still picked up an extra injury. So again, he's probably a game time decision again this week. I think he's going to get some work on Sunday, but is it enough to justify starting him? I would say he's probably more touchdown dependent than he's been in the last few weeks. Carlos Hyde is just going to eat up a few carries, and that sucks because, Carlos Hyde is just, he sucks.
Yeah, and that's a tough matchup for them too, going up against San Francisco. They're playing pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. So James Robinson, probably a sit for me. Alvin Kamara, he's been dealing with an MCL sprain that he had in week 9. He missed last week. This one's, you hate to see this, Jake, though. Limited Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday, downgraded. That is not what you want to see. Highly unlikely that we see Alvin Kamara play this week. Again, you're looking at about that 2 to 4 week window with a grade 1 MCL sprain. So we still got a few more weeks before we see Alvin Kamara, most likely. Next up, we got Nick Chubb. Remember, he tested positive for COVID last week. I told you, nobody that we've seen that tested positive, vaccinated, unvaccinated, if they test positive, almost never play that week. Technically, Nick Chubb is still on the COVID list. He is vaccinated. So as soon as he can test negative, he'll come off of it. They're going to test him again on Saturday. Will he play? Probably. Most of them have. But just kind of keep an eye on and make sure that he is playing. COVID's just one of those things that we just don't know. Maybe he still is testing positive. We're hoping, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we do not want any type of long-term COVID issues with Nick Chubb.
No, especially in a matchup this week against the lowly Detroit Lions with no Kareem Hunt. This is juicy right here.
He's going to crush if he plays, which I expect him to. So
Okay,
again, it's just more of a mystery because of the COVID stuff.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Next up, we got Chris Carson, Alex Collins. Let's talk about both these guys. Same backfield. Chris Carson was designated to return to practice last week, but it doesn't seem like he's going to play this week. Pete Carroll said, and Pete Carroll is usually not very blunt with these types of things, but he said things are not progressing as they hoped with Chris Carson's neck.
That's a problem.
Let me tell you, Jake, that is code for things are not progressing, which means things are still bad, which means there is a chance that in the next week or two, if he doesn't get any better, they shut him down for the year. Normally, I would say, yeah, Alex Collins is going to get a lot more work because of that. He's dealing with a groin injury. So Alex Collins also hurt. He hasn't practiced yet this week. I've written off Rashad Penny. So I guess you just avoid
Travis Homer.
Avoid Seattle's run game. Don't listen to Jake. He's trying to fool you.
Joking. I would never start Travis Homer.
He's trying to make us look like fools. Don't fall for it, people. Last up for the running backs, Antonio Gibson. Still limited with this stress fracture in his shin. He's dealt with this all year. Most likely this is healed. They're just giving him rest. They don't want to make it worse if it is still there. And it's most likely not. The team's going to limit his practice reps all season. He did put up one of his better games since he went out with that shin injury, which we did kind of talk about possibly being the case coming out of the bye. So hopefully you did start him. Can't remember if we talked about it or if Kyle and I talked about it in the live stream, but I know we told a ton of people to start him. So hopefully you did.
Yep, absolutely. All right, now we're on the tight ends, the football kind, Ethan.
Oh, okay. We only got two here, Jake.
Oh, so only two tight ends?
Only two tight ends.
Oh, there's only like three worth of crap, so let's go.
I know. Yeah, first up here, we got Rob Gronkowski. He's been dealing with a back strain. He didn't play last week, and he did manage to get a full practice in on Thursday this week. So it does look like he is going to play this week. Sounds like the back spasms are kind of clearing up. This is a good sign because we know that he had that back history before. And so we're glad that this was just a short-term issue. 1 week. Sounds like he's going to be able to play this week. Dallas Goedert is dealing with a concussion. Didn't practice Wednesday, limited Thursday. That's the schedule that we like to see for guys returning in a week. I'm expecting Dallas Goedert to play unless something happens in practice Friday or Saturday.
Perfect. Now that we've got them out of the way, now there's a few guys that you're saying there's a chance that we can see him here in week 11. Who are they?
There's a chance. Miles Sanders is the first one I was talking about. He was designated to return last week, or actually this week. He was talking about returning last week, but he was on IR. So the team does not have to list his practice status yet. Based on the reports that I'm reading, that he was actually ready last week, but he wasn't allowed to come back. Sounds like he's going to play this week. Again, I don't love Miles Sanders, so he's mid to low tier RB2 for me, but it does sound like he's going to come back, which will hurt Boston Scott. It'll hurt Jordan Howard. A little bit as well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, designated to return last week. He had an MCL sprain in October, didn't play last week, but he was designated to return. The problem is Andy Reid came out and hinted that they're kind of looking more towards week 13, not this, or week 12, not this week. So I'm reading the tea leaves. I don't think that they're going to play him. It's another Darrell Williams week. Logan Thomas, designated to return last week, had soreness, has been limited in practicing this week. Game time decision, most likely with Logan Thomas. He would be startable, I think, if they play him, because tight end is just a wasteland where, your dreams go to die in fantasy. So I guess you're just stuck starting Logan Thomas if he plays.
Don't stuck things in your tight end.
Yeah, you don't want anything in your tight end. Oh my gosh, Jake, you're a child. Last up, Kareem Hunt, because I know somebody in the comments is going to ask me about Kareem Hunt. Yeah. Technically, Kareem Hunt was eligible to return off of IR. He wasn't activated. Still a ways out. I would say probably another 2 to 4 weeks with Kareem Hunt. He had a major calf injury, calf strain. So we're lucky it wasn't an Achilles, but it looked like at least a grade 2, possibly a grade 3 calf strain. So he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, he's gonna need some more time before we see him back there in Cleveland. All right, so that was a laundry list of names, but now is the time where we can put the negativity aside. We can have some fun and go over to show us your teams. All right, here we go. We're gonna kick it off with the first one here, Ethan. And I gotta be honest. Every time I see a picture of myself on the screen, it really draws my attention because that means at some point Barry Flinter, wherever Barry lives, decided to put a full screen picture of me on his cell phone, and that is next level, Barry Flinter. But he's got a team called Love Ertz. Do you like the team name, Ethan?
I think it's pretty clever.
It's okay. I mean,
it's okay.
It makes sense. It's not like, whoa, that was awesome, but it's not like that sucks either. It's like right there in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So he's got a 12-team half PPR 7-3 record, currently in second place. Now, the first thing I notice, very legible handwriting. Like this is a guy who writes like a girl, but it's okay. Neither one of our handwritings look like that, Ethan.
No, I can't write that well.
You're a doctor. Everybody knows that you can't write like that. No, you scribble. You 100% scribble.
I totally scribble. In fact, I will confirm this. When I got my doctorate, my signature got worse.
It's like
I used to write it out like legibly. Now I don't even.
Now it's just like a scribble and a T, right? There you go.
Yeah, I even swoop it like a total jerk.
Well, I'm just jealous. I'm jealous of Barry's handwriting because this is next level handwriting. It's very legible. Now let's take a look at his team. First thing I see here, we got Justin Herbert. Okay, you got yourself a top 10 quarterback. Then you go down to Alvin Kamara. That's going to be a problem because we just talked about Kamara going backwards, which is not what you want. So we look at his roster down there on the bench, Ethan. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. He may be stuck with Samaje Perine if Miles Sanders does not play.
Well, could he?
Oh, he's got Joe Mixon down on the flex.
Mixon.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that down there. Oh, he's okay.
But then you're still trying to figure out your flex.
Yeah.
I guess you put Robbie Anderson.
Yep. 100%. I mean, he's not going to have a choice. But yeah. You go Robbie Anderson. I didn't see Joe Mixon down there. So yeah, put Mixon up at running back and then Robbie Anderson in at your flex, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably the play here.
I mean, he's got Justin Jefferson and Rashad Bateman. The Muth there at the tight end position. Yeah, and really, there's nothing for us to critique outside of that because he doesn't have anybody else that's going to be playing on his bench.
Maybe Logan Thomas, like I said, but I would not play him over Freiermuth. So
no, me neither. So overall, pretty solid team.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried about the depth. I mean, heck, you haven't had much depth for most of the year. I mean, you had a lot of guys that have been banged up here or not producing for a while. What do you think about holding on to the Rams defense because it's their bye week?
You know, it really depends on where your league is at. I don't mind holding on to good defenses.
But have the Rams even been that good?
It's not optimal. I think they have a decent end of the year schedule, but you know, it's also like more than likely you're going to be able to find a defense like Miami or a defense like Philadelphia that has a really prime end of the season schedule. And that's where I drop the Rams defense. Let somebody else deal with them in their bye week, or just, you know, you can pick them up next week if you really want to. I mean, we're at the time of the year where there's not a ton of great pickups, but I would probably be looking for, you know, one of those two defenses if I'm trying to stream for the rest of the year. Because if you pick them up now, you're probably going to be able to start them for the next 5 or 6 weeks, which is pretty sweet.
Perfect. Yeah, because I'm just not huge on holding two defenses. If there's something available on waivers that would benefit my team from the running back or wide receiver position, if this like bare bones, there ain't nothing out there, then okay, I don't mind it. But if there's somebody out there that you could potentially use or grab a week early, then yeah, I probably wouldn't hold two defenses.
Especially because you don't have a very great flex option this week. So it might be worth it to drop that defense to get you somebody that could help in the flex this week for sure.
For sure. All right, next up we have Zach Armand, and he has NFLSU. So he's obviously an LSU fan. Is that a box of cereal in this picture?
Oh, yeah, I think it is cereal. At first I thought those were a bunch of LSU players worshiping potato chips, but it does look like maybe they're like Wheaties or Frosted Flakes.
It's like Frosted Flakes or something. It's like
an
LSU
National Championship Coca-Cola.
I think he likes LSU.
Coca-Cola is not a sponsor of our show, so
could be though if they want to sponsor us.
They want to be.
They want to be. Not a sponsor could be a sponsor. You know what I mean?
We'd take the money.
I mean, I would take it, and it's Coke. They got $1 bajillion. You know what I mean? They could probably spare a few grand over here.
Throw some Coke the headliner's way.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, somebody tag him in a tweet.
Cola kind.
That's right. So obviously, I can tell here. Is this real? Is my first question, because literally every person on his team went to LSU, but it kind of makes sense-ish. He's got Joe Burrow. Okay, cool. Leonard Fournette, startable right now.
Yeah.
CEH, not so much right this second.
Yeah, probably.
But he has
not.
Darrell Williams on his bench.
Okay.
So he's got that covered. Then you got Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Perfect. Foster Moreau, not exactly feeling the Foster Moreau. Maybe there's just no other options from the tight end position. You know what I mean? He doesn't have any other choices. I would probably find somebody else besides Foster Moreau.
I think he's going for a theme here.
It could be, but I mean, come on.
I'm surprised LSU doesn't have at least a decent tight end in the league, but
they don't. What was Moss's kid's name? Or the Moss guy? Thaddeus Moss.
He was never going to make it.
But I mean, that's the only guy I can think of that was ever remotely close. I can't tell you a tight end in LSU.
Yeah, you're right. I can't think of one either.
If we had more time, I would call Chouse and put him on speakerphone and see if he knows anybody, but nobody.
Not off the top of my head.
For a kicker, he doesn't need a kicker, apparently. Maybe there's no kickers either from LSU, or he's just being sarcastic. He was going to have the LSU defense, but he went with the Bengals instead.
That's close enough.
And then he's got Russell Gage, DJ Chark, who he says is dead right now, Terrace Marshall, OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Darrell Williams.
My question is if you know that DJ Chark is dead,
why do you have him
still on your team?
Yeah, maybe that's the only other person out there that played at LSU that he could pick up.
I feel like that is not true. There has to be others, but overall, there's worse schools, I guess, to pick. The starting lineup looks decent. Like, I would probably still slide a kicker in there because I like to win fantasy football, not just like have joke teams. But you know what? Good on him for keeping this as a theme. He's trying to keep it. We would not recommend this for winning in fantasy, but at a minimum, it follows my rules of fantasy being fun. You have to have fun.
Absolutely. That part is 100%. He even wrote at the top there, it's a standard league, and no, this isn't a joke. So this is serious. And he's not bad. Like you said, what would be interesting to see on my part is, like, who did he draft in the first round?
I would guess either
Justin Jefferson.
I would say Jefferson or CEH probably.
Yeah. That's probably my biggest guess. Probably Jefferson and then CEH, and then I mean, overall though,
maybe Burrow Chase. I guess
it really worked out. I mean, overall, your starting lineup is great. Your depth is okay, because Terrace Marshall hasn't done a whole lot. DJ Chark's obviously not being, healthy is a problem. Russell Gage hasn't really done a whole lot. Odell Beckham now in LA. Landry's been banged up. So overall, like you just said, though, I think you hit the nail on the head here. He's having fun with it, and he's rolling with it and trying to make something out of it to enjoy it. And I think a lot of times people forget that this is still a game and to have fun. Zach Armand gets it, though. Overall, I kind of like what I see here, Ethan.
It's not the best fantasy team, but given the limitations he put on himself, it's about as good as you can get.
Yep, 100%. Totally agree. All right, next up. Fantasy FT Rookie 98. I mean, part of me thinks this is Fantasy Foot Rookie, but that doesn't make any sense. If it was Football Rookie, I would have put FB Rookie, because FT isn't the right abbreviation, in my opinion. Because otherwise, even if it's just Fantasy Foot Rookie, it just doesn't make sense. So, but hey, he's trying. He's on Twitter, right? He has hookah every Sunday. The no cup, no problem edition. He's currently 6-4, which is in first place. A 10-team full PPR. I don't know. He says he scored a lot of points. He's got all the standings right there. You got 5 teams that are currently 6-4. So he's literally like one game out of not making the playoffs.
That's competitive.
Yeah. Let's take a look at his roster, Ethan. His quarterback, I'm back. So that's Cam Newton.
Yep.
100% there for him. How do you think about Cam this week? You liking Cam as a start this week?
I've got him starting in 2 QB leagues. If he's starting, I mean, the rushing upside is probably still there. He should be fresh.
Yep. I mean, all the stars have aligned for this 1 week. It's a great matchup for him.
Yeah.
The best weapons he's had maybe ever as a whole. So yeah, I don't hate it.
CMC's there. I don't see any problems. The defense is way better than anything he's had in a long time. So
since the 2015 year, it's the best defense they've had. So he's also got CMC on this team as well. So he's going Cam CMC, locking up the rushing upside of the Carolina Panthers. Then he has Jonathan Taylor, which is amazeballs. Sucks that Jonathan Taylor is playing against the Buffalo Bills, but the puzzled look on your face is probably thinking the exact same thing that I am thinking, Ethan. How the hell's he got CMC and Jonathan Taylor?
And Saquon.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, hell nah.
I'm suspicious. Even in a 10-team league. I guess if you pick, so you pick first. So you'd pick first, 20th, and 21st. I just don't see any way.
One of those guys. Barkley would be the only one I could see falling because at the start of the season, he was out, he was injured, he was limited. They were going to work him back in slowly. But I don't know if he falls to 21.
I'm suspicious of this lineup. His wide receivers are so bad, though, that I wonder.
Did he trade his wide receiver?
Maybe everybody else went super heavy wide receiver. I don't know. That seems suspicious, but maybe. Possibly.
Can you make anything of the color scheme here? I mean, it looks like a bunch of blue, red, and green, but there's no order to what is what color. Am I missing something? Nothing.
At first I thought,
Random.
CMC, blue team, Cam, blue team, Jonathan Taylor, blue team, Elijah Moore, green team, Saquon, blue team, Miles Sanders, though, should be a green team.
Yeah, he should be green, and Bateman should be...
And Bateman should be a purple team.
Yeah, so I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
I don't understand the color scheme. Maybe there's a reason for it.
I mean, running backs are definitely in blue. Wide receivers
are in green.
Except for on the bench.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I'm confused a little bit, but that's okay. We're not judging just color schemes here, even though that does play a part here into the initial factor. The rest of the team, Dan Arnold. Don't know if I love Dan Arnold this week. San Francisco's super tough against tight ends, but you have Noah Fant on a bye, Kupp on a bye, Javonte Williams on a bye. Beasley, we talked about, it's a little bit banged up. Tannehill, you already know that you're going with Cam. And then you got A-Rob, who's banged up as well. So really, you don't have any other choices on your roster to change anything around. The part that I'm really looking at is Miles Sanders. If for some reason he doesn't go, I'm probably throwing in Cole Beasley right there for Miles Sanders.
Jake, I would say that I wouldn't mind starting Tannehill against Houston.
I don't hate that. No.
I probably would if it was me, just to diversify a little bit, just because you do have Arnold going. You do have CMC going already. CMC and Cam can't score touchdowns at the same time, but Tannehill and CMC can. So I would probably consider putting Tannehill in there against Houston. Houston is so bad. Even though Tannehill's dealing with his own wide receiver health issues, I would still probably consider Tannehill going in there instead of risking it with Cam, because we don't know what's going to happen with Cam Newton.
I think part of this is there's a little bit of positive bias, because if you look at his picture there on Twitter, he's also got Cam and CMC in the picture. So I think his fandom is taken over here at this point.
It's a truther status. Yep, you're right.
So that's where I'm going. I can't knock it too much because honestly, I have Cam ranked 3 spots higher than Ryan Tannehill this week. So
you can't argue with the rankings.
Well, yeah, you can. Trust me, a lot of people do. But
I would never.
overall, your running backs are ridiculously stacked. Your wide receivers are not. I wish I understood the color scheme a little bit more, but hey, you're super close. I mean, keep knocking out some wins here. Hopefully Saquon comes back for you, and you guys ride CMC, Jonathan Taylor, and Saquon Barkley all the way to the finals here, because
That's right.
that's enough to do it. Absolutely. All right, next up. Now we go to Reynan Guedes. And this one, I need to apologize because we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one, Reynan, because it's probably impossible for you to read. And how do I know that? Well, the phone screen is like this big. I can't read it on a monitor this big. So I have a hard time. I don't think you're going to read it on something this big. But the artwork, dude laid out a battleship game, and it looks like real ships. Like, he did a good job. I can't read a damn thing on this piece of paper. Like, outside of the outlines of the ships, there's a lot of, I mean, I could maybe like, hold on.
I got you, Jake. I'm an expert at reading small print.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you got?
Up top, we got Destroy and a headliner nation with multiple underlines. We love to see that.
Is it Destroyers, and he didn't leave enough room for the RS, so he made them small at the top?
Oh, yep. You're right.
See?
Destroyers. Nice try, though, on this graph paper.
Yeah.
Looks
Weird
like
paper.
It's a standard league. He is in first, of course, because he's part of Headliner Nation. 8 and
That's
2.
right.
Can't read anything in between those. Redraft, I think, 5th pick.
8
I
and
had
2.
the chance to pick AJ Brown in the 3rd round of the draft, but picked Robinson because I thought he would be
The alpha.
the alpha 101. Wrong. I have to stream QB for this week. Who should I drop? Well, I can't read any of the names you have, so whoever is the worst of them. I got this one though. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P.
I don't understand, because he's also got numbers going down the other way from
Well, that is how a battleship is listed.
Right,
I
but
believe.
it goes across the whole board though, not just like a little section.
Yeah, he should have made the squares, or the numbers are individual squares, but then the ships are over multiple squares.
Yeah, exactly. So
A little bit of sizing issues.
yeah,
here.
I'm having a hard time. I think it says at the very bottom though, shout out from Brazil. So he's in Brazil.
Yo, shout out to our Brazil.
So Brazil in the
watchers.
house.
We're big in
Headliners
Brazil.
International right now is what this is.
Headliners, we're big in Brazil. I've been told.
I've heard we're absolutely enormous in Brazil.
Huge.
Road trip?
I think.
Can you drive
I don't
there?
want to drive through Mexico
Yeah,
or really any
no.
country
Okay, hang on.
that's not.
I owe
That's a
this
lot
to
of driving.
It is. I owe this to Reynan. I'm taking this with me. I gotta go in. I gotta find some of these names.
Look at Jake is so deep in right now.
I'm way in here, dude. I gotta
Look
get
at how close he's almost busted out his reader cheater glasses.
I'm not that old yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so his quarterback
let
is
him fool
Matthew
you.
Stafford, so that's why he's got to
Okay.
stream somebody.
I'm actually trying to read.
He's got Damian Harris as a running back. He's got Nick Chubb as a running back.
Oh, okay.
He's got
Open.
Antonio Gibson as a flex.
Yep.
His wide receivers are DJ Moore, and I think that says Debo. So I don't hate that. His
I love
tight
it.
end was Hunter Henry.
Okay. Jonnu Smith has been hurt, so
What about
bad.
let me see what we got here. Do we have
here's Ramondre Stevenson. I read that. Jarvis Landry, Singletary, Boston Scott,
so far the
Mike-
Patriots ain't done nothing to help him.
Alex Madison. Julio Jones is hurt. Bench really hasn't done a whole lot for you.
No.
Who do I drop of that group? Boston Scott, because Miles Sanders is coming back. And Boston
I don't even
Scott
see Boston Scott, but I'll take
That's-
your word for it.
in the red above Alexander Madison.
Or does that mean that
bottom
he
left
had
shit.
Boston Scott and he crossed him out and wrote Alexander
I
Madison?
can't tell if he crossed it out.
I
It's
don't
the same
know.
color, Jake. It's
Reynan.
the same color.
Reynan.
I can tell
I
if he
tried.
crossed it out.
I tried, Reynan. I mean, shout out to Brazil. Appreciate the artwork. Overall, based off what you have on the bench right now, I'm not making any changes. I'm keeping it the way you had it. Hopefully Hunter Henry and Damian Harris can do something for you here second half of the ball game tonight, because up to this point they haven't really done a whole lot of anything. But the Destroyers and Raynon, shout out to Brazil. And that'll take us to our last one here, Ethan. This is David Rodgers. He's in a 14-team league called Don't Blow Your Waddle. Okay, good job.
Right, that
David.
was pretty good.
I like it. And it's
one of the
perfect
better
timing.
team names we've seen.
It's perfect timing because look at what I'm giving away later today.
Yo, what?
Yeah,
Sick.
a signed Jalen Waddle jersey.
I noticed that you don't ever give anything away on my show, Jake, that we do together. I guess the injury show. If you want the injury show to have a giveaway, yo, hit the like button.
How about this?
Hit the like button.
You want to give something away right now?
I love to give stuff away. What are we giving away?
I have
Jake just full of stuff to give away.
a Manscaped Perfect Package 4.0.
What?
This has got
That's
the
not the one
lawnmower.
you're supposed to be sending me, is it?
No,
Okay, good.
no, it's not the one that I'm sending you.
Okay,
But
cool.
hey, this is like $130 right here.
For the injury show? I
For
didn't
the
even know
injury
you
show,
liked
that's
this
pretty.
that much.
Yeah, that's pretty big for the injury
It's pretty
show. So,
stiff for the injury show.
all right, this is what you got to do. If you can hit the like button and leave a comment down below and saying, "Hey, my balls will thank me," or you put that down below. I think that's something funny to put down in the comment section right now. If you want to be entered in to win this, "My balls will thank me" is the comment you need to leave down below. And then I'm going to have Ethan pick a winner, and we'll announce it on next week's show.
Thanks. I'm sure that I'll love reading through my balls will thank me comments all day tomorrow.
Hey, you asked for it, buddy. So here we go. All right, David Rodgers. Don't blow your waddle. He has got the largest roster ever.
This is an IDP roster, looks like.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a couple of them in there. All right,
Yep.
so at quarterback, he's got Matt Ryan. Not ideal. Not ideal whatsoever.
Yep.
But you had Matt Stafford on a bye. At the time of this recording, Matt Ryan has 2 fantasy points. So
Oof,
it's not looking good
man.
here in the third quarter so far.
rough day.
Antonio Gibson, and then he's starting Donta Foreman. It's getting bad, David.
It's getting a little ugly, David.
It's getting a little ugly, David. Donta Foreman, not ideal. Keenan Allen and Jalen Waddle. I love Jalen Waddle, but I don't know if I want him to be my number 2 wide receiver.
Oh.
David Njoku. David, I'm getting worried here. David,
what's happening here, man?
David.
Where did it all go wrong?
I mean, we'll get a look at his bench here in a second. Maybe he suffered from some injuries. He's got Tony Pollard as a flex, which is not ideal.
Could be worse.
Could be
I
worse.
guess. Could have Deonta Foreman starting for you. Oh, wait.
He does. Yes.
He does.
Darrell Williams is on his bench. Darrell Williams needs to go directly into the running back spot for Donta Foreman right now.
Yeah. Deonta Foreman can actually be dropped.
Yeah, a lot of people still like him in the backfield there of Tennessee, but between him, Adrian Peterson, Jerry McNichols may miss this week. I think it's due to a concussion, but that backfield is just disgusting anyway. So, not needed. He's lost Logan Thomas, who's on IR, so maybe he gets him back pretty soon. Allen Robinson's banged up. He really doesn't have anything else on his bench. He said he started 2-5. Facing league winner, do or die. Please help. Facing current number 1. Oof.
Dude, you are hurting bad. Okay, first things first. Darrell Williams absolutely needs to be starting for Deonta Foreman.
Quit
If
adding
it
an
was-
I in there. It's just Donta Foreman.
Oh, whatever. Get rid of him. I don't care. I don't care to remember his name because he shouldn't be on any fantasy teams. Man, you're hurting. I would probably consider starting Melvin Gordon as well.
He's on bye, so you may not want to start him.
Okay, never mind. Forgot that. Totally forgot that.
Yeah, him and Matt Stafford on
Tony
bye.
Pollard or Alex Collins?
Well, you just told me that Alex Collins was suffering from a groin injury.
I guess we're gonna have to stick with Tony Pollard. Gosh, this is probably the hardest rehab we've had to do.
I feel for you, David, because
Get Darrell Williams in your lineup.
that's like the best you can do right now.
And like, I think that's the best he can do. Would you start Njoku or Thomas if he's playing?
Probably. Oh man, I don't like either. But let's look at this for a second. We know that Donovan Peoples-Jones is banged up. We know that Jarvis Landry is not 100%.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb technically isn't activated yet, even though he should be. We have no Kareem Hunt. I guess I go David Njoku and just hope that he can get a red zone target or two and turn into a touchdown.
I think you're right.
But overall, though, I mean, even the defense, the Dallas Cowboys defense, they got to deal with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And if the Chiefs have figured it out from last week, that's going to be a problem right there, too. So,
yeah,
I'm a little bit worried, if I'm being completely honest here, David. But you never know. Stranger things have happened, right? We've seen some pretty weird things here in 2021, but that's the only thing that I see that you could really make a change with was Darrell Williams there for Donta Foreman.
Yeah.
Praying for you, David.
Prayers up.
Yeah.
We might have a moment of silence for David's fantasy team next week.
Next week, it may be that we may include David in our moment of silence. All right, so that was Show Us Your Teams. Let's go ahead and just dip in the mailbag here for a couple questions, Ethan. First one we got here, it says it's from... When you quickly read it, it says Paul, right? But there's a space in between. So is it Paul?
It's Paul.
Paul.
Yeah.
Paul.
Paul.
Where does OBJ go in rest of season rankings with Woods out? What's your rest of season outlook here on Odell Beckham?
I mean, I don't think that somebody that's coming into a team right in the middle of the year is going to slide directly into where Woods was. So if I had Woods at like a low wide receiver 2, I guess like high to mid wide receiver 3 type of range like that.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking somewhere in the
26 to 34.
Yeah, I was going to say 25 to 30-ish, right around in there. So somewhere right around there. I don't want to get too crazy and think that he's all of a sudden going to set the league on fire. I think it could be one of those things where maybe he has a big week or two, but it's going to be surrounded by a bunch of mediocre games and isn't going to be consistent. Yeah. So I think that obviously his outlook is better now with no Robert Woods, since he came to LA. So not something I'm going to get too excited about. We'll put him right there as I'm going to have a high-end wide receiver 3. Rick Sanchez, he says Pittman for Deontay Johnson and Sterling Shepard in a PPR. Is this good? So I don't know if he's getting Pittman or giving up Pittman, but which side of this trade do you like better? Michael Pittman or Deontay Johnson, Sterling Shepard? In my opinion, Sterling Shepard can just be crossed off the list. I don't really care about him. So it's really Pittman or Johnson.
Full PPR?
Yep. Well, it just says PPR.
It's hard to go against what Pittman's been doing. He's been pretty solid. Especially
since Big Ben's banged up, and we have to deal with some Mason Rudolph at times in Pittsburgh. So I don't know if Deontay Johnson has the higher ceiling as maybe he had earlier in the season.
I would say Pittman just because I feel like Johnson has more target competition, like true target competition.
True. Yep.
Pittman, Paris Campbell's always hurt. T.Y. Hilton's always hurt. Like, can you even name? Mo Alley Cox, I guess.
Jack motherfucking Doyle.
Yeah. But I'd still probably go with Pittman.
Yep.
I would say Pittman for me.
I would have to go on the Pittman side. I don't know which one you're getting, Rick, but I'm on the Pittman side. If you have him, I'm keeping him. If you're trying to get him, I would give that up to get him. Next up, Mr. Kojak says Mike Williams going to return to a number 1. Okay, he put number 1 or not so much. So rest of season, I know Mike Williams started off super hot, but as of late has drastically cooled off since getting injured there mid-season. I think defenses are really focusing on taking away the deep ball from Mike Williams, and by doing that, you're just limiting that huge upside. It's kind of why Justin Herbert struggled a little bit at times too. Do they figure it out? I think they do, but I don't think it's going to be consistent week in and week out. I think it's going to be one of those things where there's some big games, kind of like we were talking about with Odell Beckham, surrounded by some mediocre games. I don't think we're going to see rest of season what we saw to start the season.
Yeah, Mike Williams is such an interesting case study into buying the hype of players that notoriously get hurt. I know I'm the injury guy, so I'm always thinking about these things first. But to me, this is a good lesson. This Mike Williams fiasco that, he was on fire. You could have basically traded anybody you wanted.
Yep.
if you had Mike Williams, you could have turned that into Stephon Diggs at the beginning of the year, potentially, and those types of players. I guess I won't say Diggs because somebody's gonna be like, no way you're getting Diggs from Diggs started out the year pretty slow. So if you got somebody panicking, they could make that move. But as soon as he gets hurt, it's just like back to square one. He can't do what he was doing before. Is he really 100%? It's just kind of a lesson of just, hey, those guys that are notoriously hurt every year, if they start super hot, maybe that's a good time to flip that person for someone who notoriously doesn't get hurt every year. I'm just saying, I don't think he's going to return to like full number one wide receiver status this season.
But here's what's crazy about it, Ethan, is even though he started to cool off here, he started off so hot that as long as he can continue to be somewhat consistent and have solid games, he's going to be a guy that goes out there and gets 1,100 yards receiving this year. He's got 608 right now. You know what I mean? He still has half a season almost left to go.
Yeah.
I mean, is he going to go out there and get 122 yards and 2 touchdowns like he did in week 3? Probably not every week. No, but if he can go out there and get you 4 or 5 receptions for 50, 60, 70 yards a week, an occasional touchdown, he's still going to be a serviceable flex play at times based off a matchup. So overall, in the grand scheme of things, he's going to have a solid year. I think he was just front loaded with a lot of his points, and now people are kind of quote unquote panicking, kind of. All right, next up, Dog's Breakfast, who is a member here, by the way. I can see by the lone boner emoji, so we appreciate your support out there.
Yeah.
And this is something we've kind of talked about here just a couple minutes ago when we were talking about injuries. With Aaron Rodgers' toe injury, do you start him or Cam? He's going to need points this week. So personally, I need points every week. So it's not just this week that I need points. I always need points.
I'm always needing points.
Even though Aaron Rodgers is an elite level quarterback that can go out there and put up, a great game, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has ever been one of those quarterbacks that's gone out there and put up like a ridiculous number, right? He's usually somebody 250 to 275, 2 or 3 touchdowns. He's going to go get you 28, 30 fantasy points on a really good day. Like, that's Aaron Rodgers. I still think that it's more of a risk by far, but I think the potential ceiling of Cam could actually be a little bit higher if you wanted to gamble just this week.
Yeah, the other thing I would mention with Cam, he's playing Washington, correct?
Yes.
So I didn't mention this because it wasn't an offensive player, but we did lose Chase Young this year.
Yep.
He was a moment of silence. He did tear his ACL. And
they don't have Montez Sweat on the other side either.
And so their run defense is not going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the only kind of saving grace for that defense at all this year. The defense has not looked good for Washington. So It depends on how risky you want to be. Like, is it like a do or die situation where you're playing the best team in the league? Maybe I would start Cam to see if he can like blow up for 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 throwing touchdowns. I mean, Rodgers with the toe injury, probably not going to give you anything on the ground. And so you're only relying on his arm. Could he still give you 30 points with that? Yeah, absolutely. But more likely, you're going to get somewhere between 18 and 22.
Mm-hmm.
Cam, it's like, well, I would say that if he starts the whole game, his floor is about 18 points.
Yep.
And his ceiling is like 42.
Yep, exactly.
And so I don't mind it.
We're on the same page here.
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either. And this is not something where I want people to, you guys you're blowing out of proportion. You like Cam too much. This is a week 11 assessment. I'm not talking about rest of season. I'm looking at solely this week. If you need to chase points, you need the higher ceiling, Cam may be the way to go.
Yes.
Last one, and this is a difficult one. And I don't even know if you've read it or not, but we're going to put you on the spot here because then we'll both answer it. Denise
I don't know
M.
how to read. I'm just a doctor.
Exactly. You just scribble your name. Rather than a start-sit question, which honestly, quick intermission, I love questions that are not start-sit related because we answer so many of them all week long. Tons. We really like diving into other types of things in this show. So if you really want to have a good chance of having your name pulled here, don't always make them start-sit questions.
Yes.
All right, Denise.
We still appreciate the people that ask
100%.
Sorry.
Yep, 100%. She wants to ask why some players are always ranked too high and others too low, and she gave an example. I have Landry and Kirk, so Christian Kirk. Landry is always ranked higher despite the fact that Landry averages 8.5 points per game played, and Kirk averages around 13.4 fantasy points per game. Some players just don't get the love. Why I largely ignore rankings except #fantasy headliners, of course.
That's
so
right.
her question is, how come guys like Christian Kirk are typically ranked lower than guys like Jarvis Landry when guys like Jarvis Landry continue to underperform on a weekly basis here in 2021?
It's a tough question.
It is.
Not because there isn't an answer, because I do think there's answers.
Yep.
I just think that there's a lot of factors that could be playing into that. For this exact example, just because we're using it, Landry has the history of being a PPR asset.
Yep.
And he's done that for years, and basically 5, 6, 7 years. Jarvis Landry, PPR, going to score points. Occasionally, and I would say more often than not, rankers for weekly rankings, and we don't do this here, but across the industry, I think rankers rely heavily on not what the matchup is this week, just who's going to end up being the guys at the end of the year that just consistently end up as like top 36 wide receivers. And those guys tend to always make it in their rankings in some sort. Like, I think that plays a role. I think that name value plays a role. I would argue the exact same thing that's happening with Jarvis Landry is what we've dealt with OBJ all year. When I said don't even draft OBJ this year, I got a little bit of hate where people were like, wait a second, what do you mean don't start OBJ? He's one of the 10 most talented wide receivers in the league. No. He was one of the 10 most talented wide receivers in the league. He may have one point have been the number one wide receiver in the league. He is not that now. And so I do think that name value and previous years' production plays a role into why some guys just always seem to be way higher in rankings than what we, or really just the consensus where they should be on any given week. And I think that's probably why. I do think that there are names like a Christian Kirk that, yes, he scored a ton of points. But I do think that people have been, disappointed with Kirk for multiple years. So now it's kind of like you almost have to prove it more than you normally would. If this would be Christian Kirk's rookie year, we'd be talking about him as like probably one of the, 10 best dynasty wide receivers in the league. If it was his first year and he was producing like he is right now.
Yep.
But he's not. This is like his 5th year. And so he's had 4 years of disappointment. Now, all of a sudden, we're like kind of skeptical about everything he does. And we can't give him credit in the moment because we've been burned by him in the past.
Yep.
We do that a lot. And I would say that's probably the name value versus what have you done for me in the past plays a lot into why guys just never seem to fly up rankings. You rarely see players that have disappointed people in the past fly to the top of rankings. That's why when you get a Mike Williams that has disappointed people in the past and he does fly up, that's when I get skeptical. Like, is this too good to be true? Usually is.
And that's the thing is, like, especially with these two names, with Landry and Kirk, and I'll use them as an example here. When I'm going through and I'm doing rankings, I'm looking at not just the name value personally. Now, obviously, on the surface, Jarvis Landry, he's going to carry more weight than Christian Kirk. But when you go back and you look at like Christian Kirk, you have a bunch of different factors to put in there. Does DeAndre Hopkins play this week? Do they have Kyler Murray this week? Who is their matchup against this week? What has he done target-wise, consistency over the last few weeks? And when you go and look at a guy like a Christian Kirk, sure, he's had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 straight games with at least 5 targets, which is okay. Not too bad. But he's only had 2 games over 60 yards receiving since week 3. 60 yards receiving. He's only got 2 touchdowns over that span. So he's not doing a whole lot either. And at times you're going to see guys like Christian Kirk have a decent week. And you're going to be like, wow, he was, underrated this week. And he was, but the risks really were not in his favor. When you look at somebody like a Jarvis Landry, we've had Odell Beckham out. We had Baker Mayfield playing pretty good football at times before he injured his shoulder. You had a a PPR monster in Jarvis Landry, who was racking up receptions, not doing a whole lot with them. We've seen him be a red zone guy in the past. There's just a lot of different factors that go into it, but honestly, if you go back and look at rankings, neither one of those guys are going to be very high on any of our lists because of that risk factor that kind of comes along with it. The floors may be quote unquote safe, but their ceilings are so hit and miss that they're not the guys that we're really, really shooting for right now because they're just too inconsistent on a weekly basis. So I don't want to make it sound like we're always putting that top name on top because we're not, but there are a lot of things that go into it. It's not just what did Christian Kirk do last week and all of a sudden he's going to do the same thing this week. It just doesn't work that way. And the beautiful thing about it, and I say this in almost every ranking show, and she even put in here why she largely ignores rankings. Honestly, I kind of do for the most part myself too. Rankings I kind of use as somebody's perception. Like, I want to know your story, Ethan. What do you think about these guys? Doesn't mean I'm going to 100% take everything that you say and make it, a factual statement in my mind, but now I can say, all right, I can see how he's looking at it. All right, Kyle, what do you think about this? And then all of a sudden you get these different perspectives, and that's how you put together the clearest picture to make the best decisions, in my opinion. But that's just how I do it, Ethan. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, I do think that in general, rankings are really overrated for
Yes.
fantasy football. You just because a guy has 2 bad weeks, let's put Stephon Diggs on blast for the beginning of this season. That doesn't mean that he shouldn't be ranked highly every week. He has the potential, and the targets are there, the opportunities in the red zone are there. If he doesn't produce the touchdowns, yeah, that's just bad luck. It will trend towards that eventually. And now we're seeing, it trending towards it week after week after week. And you're like, oh, this is why you don't panic when things happen in the first 4 weeks of the fantasy season. The thing I like about our team's rankings, one, we're very, and I don't mean to pat anyone else on the back because, I love to pat myself on the back. But we as a team have had a lot of success in expert ranking polls. I mean, we've had team members in the top 5 this season, weekly rankings multiple times, We've had top 15 performances multiple times. Consistency, in the top 50, multiple people on our team. We don't have a huge team, Jake. There's not like 50 people on our team. So when other websites say, oh yeah, we always have, top 50 rankers, you have to remember that they might have 50 different writers ranking for them every week. We have like 3.
We have 3.
Okay.
It's me, Kyle, and Chris Kennedy. They're the only 3 that do it.
And so when we're talking about us being in the top 50, we only get 3 shots out of 200 plus people that are ranking. And so we take a lot of pride when we end up in the top 15, like Chris Kennedy did last week. We take a lot of pride in that because the only people that we confer with about these types of rankings are like this team. There's 6 of us really consistently like involved with that. And so I will tell everyone that like the number of times that Jake, Chris, and Kyle reach out to me while making their ranking sheets every week, like at some point, pretty much all of you week after week will ask me about a player. And so we put the injury side of it in there too. I don't do the rankings because ain't nobody got time for that. I'm too busy being a doctor and scribbling my name fast.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that this, specifically said that, of course, like she's listening to our rankings, but I think that our start sit videos are way more important than just like individual
100%.
rankings. I think knowing who to play and who not to play, infinitely more important.
Yep. 100%. Like you said, rankings just very over. A lot of people look at rankings and like think that they're like the spoken word, and they're just not. It's just an opinion. It's just a perspective in somebody's eyes. Nobody can see the future 100%. So don't put too much into rankings. Look at all the information yourself, and you can come up with the best possible position for your team. But Ethan, we went through injuries. People showed us their teams. We dipped in the mailbag. I think that covers us here for right now. Now I do want to make sure.
Giveaway.
Huh?
We're
And the giveaway.
Giveaway.
Yep. Your balls will my balls will thank me down in the comment section if you're looking for that. I do want to throw this in here. This show is already in like an hour and 10 minutes long.
It's
So
fine.
hopefully
Just keep
you're
going.
still sticking around with us here because I want to make sure I tell you more than likely, not 100% confirmed yet, we may not have an injury show next week because it being Thanksgiving. I know, Ethan, but you and I, come on. We're not
getting paid, right?
Yeah, we're not kidding anybody, though. You know you and I are eating on Thanksgiving. So, I mean, yeah, we're dipping in the Thanksgiving dinner. But what we will do, if we do not have a show, I will still get all of Ethan's information from him, and we will put out a graphic. We'll post it on the community tab on Twitter. We'll share it all out so you still have the up-to-date information on everybody who is injured for next week. So don't worry, we'll still make sure that you're covered, even if it's not in video form. But Ethan, it's been fun. Looking forward to doing it again. I'm just waiting, though. I'm waiting for that one show where you show up and you have like one page of notes, because that's going to be a great day.
The off season is coming, Jake. Don't wish it upon us too quickly.
That's true. I mean, it's not coming quick enough at times, Ethan. not quick enough at times. All right, well, hey, hopefully you guys are having a great day. Hopefully you had a great week this week. Have a great weekend. And for the Doc and myself, we'll talk to you later.